All right. Been an interesting week of comments during the bye week. Want to make sure I get into it. So let's just jump into it. Let's not waste any time. Urban Window Farmer, who says this: I feel like it's tough to get over this so quickly. Cleveland's first round pick in 2022, pick 13. Cleveland's fourth round pick, 104 in 2022. Cleveland's first round pick in 2023, pick 12. Cleveland's third round pick in 2023, 73rd. Cleveland's first round pick in 2024, 23rd, and fourth round pick in 2024. So we're talking about two top 15 picks, a 23rd pick in the draft, and some day two selections as well. The Deshaun Watson trade, other teams were drafting and improving with first round picks for 3 years while the Browns weren't. This is a huge part of why I think the offense looks like it does. Like, I know a lot of people want to blame Andrew Berry for why the offense looks like it does, but I mean, look at the amount of resources that they threw at trying to get this offense a quarterback. And when those amount of resources fail, it's just going to create a hole in the offense. There's no filling that hole in the offense with the resources that the Cleveland Browns had once Deshaun Watson proved to not be good. And there's all kind of theories on why Deshaun's here, but all I know is that the owner is taking blame for it. So, yeah, I mean, the offense is not the most talented offense in the world. I think they are more talented than what they show on Sundays, which is why I think the blame goes on Kevin more than Andrew, right? Like, if I truly believe that what the offense is doing right now was truly the best that they could do and the best that they could be structured, and I'm watching the tape and I'm saying to myself, well, they're trying to do all of these things that I would want them to do, and they're not successful at it because they don't have the horses, then maybe I could look at Andrew Berry more sideways than I do now, but that's not the case. When I watch the All 22, I have questions about why it is that we're prioritizing some players over others when it makes no sense in the situations that we're doing it. You know, I don't think that we're this bad on offense just because the personnel is that bad. I don't think that's a good enough excuse. I don't think the personnel is as bad as what the result is. I think that there can be a better result obtained from this offense. And for me, I get why the offense isn't the most talented. Again, look at the amount of resources they put into one guy on the offense to try to fix things at the quarterback position, and that not working out on top of the, 9% of cap that you've thrown at it with Deshaun Watson at this point. So, yeah, I can understand there not being a ton of talent on offense. I cannot understand how we're utilizing the talent that we have right now on offense, which is the problem, which is why I think I can point more towards Kevin than I can towards AB, despite the fact that coming into the season, I was favoring Kevin more than I favored Andrew Berry. Like, I was way more on the side of the dude with 2 coaches of the years than the guy who has not won anything for their performance as a general manager and an executive vice president. But if you're looking at the results here and you're looking at the problems that are going on the team, like, the talent, sure, it's not great, but you still got 2 Pro Bowlers in that passing attack in David Njoku and Jerry Jeudy. And you tell me, do you think that those 2 are utilized well enough in this offense right now? I don't. You know what I mean? Are you thrilled with how the Browns have been using Quincy Judkins as a running back? I'm not. Are you thrilled with how they've been using a guy like Jamari Thrash, who shined all throughout camp, just to put him aside for Isaiah Bond? I'm not. You know what I mean? Like, the talent is there to be better than what you are. I'm not saying to be good, but to be better than what you are, I think the talent is there. It's the utilization. And yeah, could this roster be more talented? Sure, but look at what they missed out on. Because they put all of those resources, everything here on this sheet that Urban Window Farmer put up here, that all went towards the offense. The other pieces were always going to be used for the defense because that was the plan. And Andrew Berry, to his credit, everything that he's used his resources on that, has not been taken credit for by the owner, The Deshaun Watson trade has been, like Jimmy said, it's him. You look at, okay, he used the remaining resources on the defense. It's been good. He built an elite defense. The offense kind of looks like how it does because of, one, they're not utilized well, and two, look at what they sunk into Deshaun Watson. It didn't work out. Yeah, I think you make a great point. Like, I think not enough people are factoring that in. And look, this is why even right now, when it's not the most popular thing to be like, yeah, I think Andrew Berry's good at his job, is why I think Andrew Berry's good at his job, because I think he's done a good job here. The results aren't great, but I think there are other reasons for why the offense looks like this. And it's not just strictly talent. Useless Bread says, also important to note that he broke Reggie White's record for most career sacks before the age of 30 in this game. He needed a half a sack. Oh, he's talking about Myles Garrett. Currently holds it by 4.5 and has until, yeah, man, it's unfortunate that Myles Garrett is out here on a clip that even Reggie White wasn't on in his career. And we're not able to get much out of it. We're going to look at more hot takes, but before I do, I want to thank my sponsor, Sleeper. All right, so I got my Sleeper picks in this week. Now, the Browns are on a bye week. So because the Browns are on a bye week, we got to do things a little different. I thought what would be fun here is to give Browns fans a full break from NFL football and talk about some picks that we think could hit when it comes to college football. And we're going to do this with quarterbacks that we have talked about potentially being in the 2026 draft class. So for my picks this week, after looking at all of the picks available on Sleeper, and by the way, if you want to join the fun, make sure you use the promo code WORSTTAKE when you join Sleeper. Get up to $100 match. Get a $100 match on up to $100 when you join Sleeper with that promo code. So first, we got Brendan Sorsby, 275 yards. I think he's going to get more than that playing against Utah. It's going to be a late game, 10:15 p.m., but I think he will be able to succeed. From what I hear about Brendan, he has some of the best tools of all the quarterbacks in college football, and he is very, very interesting and exciting to watch. Fernando Mendoza, he is right now my QB1 of this class. They have him at 19.5 rushing yards. I'm going to go up here. Fernando likes to run the ball, and when he does run the ball, he does not slide a ton. He likes to be aggressive. He uses it as something to kind of get his guys motivated, and I think he'll have more than 19 rush yards versus Maryland. Lenore Sellers, they have him at 28.5 rushing yards. I'm going to say more here. South Carolina start to lean more on Lenore Sellers' rushing abilities in their game against Alabama. They actually found some success doing that. I think they'll continue to do that. And then Darian Mensah out of Duke playing Clemson today. Well, not today, but Saturday at noon. I have him over a passing touchdown and a half, so 2 passing touchdowns. He's been lighting it up. He's been a fun guy to watch. But those are our picks, the 2025, 2026 draft. And if you want to join the fun, make sure you join Sleeper. Use promo code. I think you should be concerned that Shador got injured twice this season without practice, without really playing in games. Now, this is one that if you just look for opinions on the internet, people will gaslight you into thinking a reasonable thought is unreasonable, because the comment section on the video where I pointed this out was wild, right? The Shador fans found it. They got mad at me. It happens almost every week. And they come to me with all of these different excuses on why I shouldn't be concerned about whatever it is. It reminds me of how people acted when all the red flags were coming out about, like, before the 2021 season with Baker Mayfield, or before the 2024 season with Deshaun Watson, or, before like Johnny played, right? Like, there would be all of these red flags that people be trying to tell you about, and everybody's like, they're just haters and all this stuff, right? And I'm trying to make sure that I listen to red flags when they pop up. And I'm just pointing out that this whole Shador missing having 2 different periods where he's missed time because of an injury that wasn't about him playing football is a bit concerning. Now, The excuses for this have been mainly these two comments, right? Matthew says, it wasn't my decision to sit out. I guarantee I'm going to be good. This is like fuel to say, oh, he wasn't really injured, but then kind of throwing water on that whole theory that, oh, Shador wasn't injured. The coaching staff just kept him out. There are two things here. One, Shador is still in Berea this week getting treatment from the Browns medical staff, which would certainly indicate that he was actually injured on Sunday. And two, I know people who were at the game at pregame warmups that saw Shador need help from like 3 people to get off the ground. He was injured. He hurt himself. You know, whatever he's saying to the media, whatever, he's lying. He was injured. That's why he's still getting treatment. The next thing is this whole weird thing about like the Shador played with a fracture in his back at Colorado. And like, okay, so he says, I feel like the Sanders family scrubbed the internet and made everybody forget that Shador fractured his back in Colorado and missed the last game of the 2023 season. People are bringing this up as an excuse for Shador, and I'm like, what does that have to do with anything? So you're saying that he has a bad back? That's more of a red flag. Like, that's way more of a red flag if he has a bad back and he's hurting it by just practicing. Like, on one hand, I hear all this complaining about the lack of practice reps that he has, but apparently he's injuring himself with these practice reps. That's not good. None of that is good. Again, I'm not going to freak out and like call him injury prone or anything like that. It's way too early for that. But I feel like reacting this harshly to an acknowledgement that, hey, maybe your quarterback getting hurt 2 times without playing might be a little bit of a concern is insane to me. Everybody I know that's like talked about this is concerned about this. And it's not a fake injury. The Browns didn't just make it up to keep him out that game in New England, because we have proof that he was actually injured. Again, he literally said himself, I can't go to homecoming. I have to stay and get treatment. What are you getting treatment for? Probably the injury that kept you out your last game. Right? Like that's there. We got eyewitness accounts. Like, what else do you want to prove that he was injured? So he was injured. And if he's injured without playing football, I mean, you got to ask questions about that, because that's not normal. That's not normal. If this was happening to any other player on the roster, I would say the same thing. Y'all saw me bitch about Mike Hall for like 8 weeks on a similar premise. Like, this is a concern. Cleveland BCI says this, and it kind of like, it's a counterpoint to what I made earlier. They don't have the personnel. Exactly like Stefanski, Barry, and DePodesta all need to be on the hot seat. Inherited a good offensive roster, and now it's crap top to bottom. Well, I mean, you inherited a good offensive roster, and again, you invested 3 years of first-round picks into a quarterback who did not work out for you. And by the end of that run of picks that you missed out on, a lot of the pieces that you inherited that were good offensively aged out, and you didn't have the resources to replace them while they were here. I think there's a perfectly reasonable explanation for that. Like, you know, I don't think there's a perfectly reasonable explanation for the structure of the offense right now. You know, that's where it is. So I had to disagree with you, man. Nick says, we are overcomplicating the situation. We sold 4 or 5 years of impact players and a third of our cap. By the way, I need to correct that. The Browns have not given Deshaun Watson a third of their cap so far. If you look at the money he's taken up and the cap that the Browns have had, it's been 9%. So it's not been a third of the cap. Now our roster has 4 or 5 glaring holes at important positions. So was that got to pay the piper now? Yeah, I think that's part of the issue. I think the draft picks, it really hurt them. You know, not the draft picks with the combination of not getting the quarterback play. It really hurt them, and there's really not a great way to recover from that. I think they should still be better than what they are, but yeah, it's going to cause some baseline issues here. I don't know if it's enough to save Kevin. with how the offense has looked and the decisions he's making within it, I think there's a lot of questionable stuff happening there. But, you know, I get why the roster on offense isn't superstar studded and is aged out. Like, it's, I don't know. I think that here, I want to come down to like a very succinct conclusion. I think that there are a good amount of coaches that can get more from the offense than what Kevin has gotten over the last 2 years right now. You know, if I'm just being reasonable about what I'm watching across the league and what I'm watching on Sundays when the Browns play, I think there's a good amount of coaches that could get more from what the Browns have right now, roster-wise, than what Kevin's getting. I'm not saying that they would get an amazing result, but I think we would be somewhere in the 20s, right? You know, as far as offense goes. So 28th, 29th, 27th offense instead of 32. I don't think there's a ton of GMs that could have maintained and built a better roster than what the Browns have, given what they've had to deal with the Deshaun Watson trade. And that's why I think that Andrew has done a better job. You know, like, given the circumstances and the things that they've had to hurdle, there was a time where Kevin was doing a much better job than Andrew Berry at hurdling those issues. But I think Andrew has caught up and he's gotten better. And Kevin has not. So that's where I'm at with it. Red Right Sipe says this: why would anybody expect a team projected at 4.5 wins coming off a terrible year offensively and did bare bones to fix it due to cap restraints and player availability in draft and a tough schedule to be anything but this? It is worth noting that the Browns have the second lowest strength of schedule. So I don't know if tough schedule is a great description. Been following the team for a long time. It's what I expected it was. If I was the owner, I'd want to be high on the next draft too. If you don't want a first round talent at QB in this league, you're pretty much screwed, and that's the goal. I mean, big picture wise, I get it. People got to watch it though, right? It's one thing to say the Browns are going to win 4.5 games this season. It's another thing to live through it. And living through it is the tough part, because when you're living through it, some of the small details that gets missed when you're looking at it from a 10,000 foot view, you start to see the details of, right? It's one thing to say it. It's another thing to do it, because when you're living through it, you see the damage that it's doing to your star players. You're seeing the damage that it's doing to the people in that locker room. You're seeing the damage that it's doing to the staff, all of it, right? Like, it is one of those things that people love to postulate about, but when you actually do it, it don't feel great. So I can't blame people for being upset when they're watching it, because what else is the reaction supposed to be? It is what it is there. So I kind of get what you're saying, but on another point, I don't really agree. I think there was a way to put a better result on the field than what they have been right now. And I don't think this is an acceptable result, if I'm being honest with you. But that's my thoughts about the hot takes. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Have a great day. Have an even better night. Peace.